Hi, this is Liz Larson with Transform One Idea with Carmela Lamanna of The Spirited Duo and the Power of Rising Spirit.com. Good morning, Carmela.
Good morning, darling. How are you?
Good. Well, it's morning where I am. It's afternoon where you are, right?
Yeah, it's noon.
Noon. Yeah, it's just almost 10 o'clock here. So it's almost 1 there, actually, isn't it?
Half of the day is gone already.
I know. I hear you. Anyway, I'm so happy that we get to be together again to have another interesting conversation. We've been talking about this one for a while, so I thought it'd be really great to share it with both of our audiences out there. And we've been talking a lot about how odd the energy is lately, and it's obviously not just us. I mean, we're hearing that everywhere, that the energy is fluctuating and that it's heavy a lot of times. And that people are really experiencing some highs, but a lot more lows and being overwhelmed with energy, right?
Yes, it's so true. And I'm going through that right now myself. But I also, I know some of the clients that I've had and some of the friends that I have that they actually have physical pain and physical emotions and all of that. They're all over the place and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really what spurred this conversation. You and I talk, all the time, sometimes almost daily. I mean, it's so important to have that collective of people to bounce things off of. And so, that's one of the things I want to put out there before I even launch into how we started on this is keep talking to your collective people, keep listening to radio shows and conversations like this to know you're not alone. So we talk all the time. And I was listening to an Allison Coe and James Gilliland episode on YouTube, and two people that, we kind of enjoy listening to. And they were sort of just talking, having a good time with each other. But in the middle, they said something that reminded me, and it was kind of one of those duh moments, right? But also really important. We were talking about how all of this energy is coming, and those who are empathic or in the spiritual conversation or in the metaphysical conversation are really feeling it. And that it isn't ours. It's just stuff that needs to be processed out, needs to be moved to a higher vibration. As simple as that, but not ours. And how it's important not to make it important, for one, not to make it about us, for two, not to be carrying it around with Easter coming kind of like a cross,
Right, yes.
And so personally, like you're saying, I had been going through it too, just really feeling hopeless in a lot of ways and feeling like it's always going to be like this. It's just over and, this is the way it's going to be. Nothing's ever going to be good again, And so one day I was in my office here where you can see, and I was really feeling like that. And there was a reminder. And so I'll show you what I used as this ball, the Cogno ball. And I had just been talking to the creator of it, Bill McKenna, and he's one of the people that I support and work with on a regular basis, one of the practitioners. Just been talking to him about that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to see if I can get rid of this feeling that I'm having, right? And before that, it was so important. Like, it was my worldview in the moment, right? It was huge. It was about me. It was all of that. So I just took 5 minutes. I set my timer for 5 minutes. I wrote down, for me, how one of the ways it manifests is the same phrase might go through my head again and again and again. So I wrote down that phrase. And then with Cogno movement, as with a lot of modalities, you focus on the sensation in the body. For me, it was, between the heart chakra and the solar plexus, but a little more in the solar plexus. And what I did was I just pulled that out and made it bigger. I made it more intense. And that's what you do with this modality. And I let that phrase go around in my head. At about 2.5 minutes, it flip-flopped. It was the absolute reverse of that statement. I don't even remember what it is at the moment.
Give an example.
Something like, I'm experiencing deep sadness.
Okay.
Okay. So it flipped over to, I can't remember either, but like, oh, everything's okay.
Okay.
I'm experiencing joy and excitement. I think it was joy and excitement because for me, I mean, that's a stretch, you know, it's not my normal state. It's not my normal state. So, but it flipped over. So not necessarily the sensation yet at 2.5 minutes, but the statement flipped, which was a shock. So I stopped for a second and I wrote down the new statement, and I continued to let that feeling, which had diminished at that point, pull. I made it bigger, made it bigger, made it bigger. And at 5 minutes, it was gone. And I thought, really? Really? I think the thing was the most surprised is that it wasn't actually real. It wasn't. And it wasn't even mine, which really, I have to say, pissed me off because I'm like, you know, I mean, we want to make these things important. So, of course, then I shared that with you and it spurred this conversation.
Yeah. Well, to me, I find that the first and foremost, we get really frustrated when we go through that feeling of yuck, the feeling of, you know, I'm not feeling good today. I feel like shit. I feel just, you know, I don't feel good. I feel tired. I feel exhausted, or I feel angry, or I feel upset. In fact, it was just yesterday morning, I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to give up. Like, I just want to give up. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do it. And then I decided, I'm like, I'm going to go for a walk. So I ended up going for a walk. And then I came back and I did not even know I had that feeling. But I have another story, which was interesting, talking about tools. So, you know, for you use the ball as your tool. For me, I wasn't feeling well, and I had a tone in my ear, which I still have right now. Comes and goes, and it's just an upgrading that I'm going through right now. So it's a tone, and when I talk, I feel myself underwater.
Yeah,
But if I'm silent and I'm listening to anything, it's like I don't even have it. But along with the tone, I started to feel pain in my shoulder. And I thought, well, you know what? This is not right. Like, enough. I'm tired of it. And I kept hearing, go outside barefoot. Go outside barefoot. And I ignored it. I ignored it for a whole pretty much day. And finally I was sitting and I was getting worse. My tone was getting worse. And finally I said, okay, fine. I had my socks on because I didn't take them off because it's wet outside. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in my backyard. And I ended up going to my backyard, and I do have a tree. And I leaned against the tree. And as I was going, before I went to the grass, I asked, you know, once I step into the grass, I asked Mother Earth to ground me. And then I leaned against the tree and I asked the tree to take whatever was not mine, to clear it from my body. I literally was there a minute, maybe two. I made myself back inside, and I think I was talking to you. You happened to call shortly after, and I was talking to you, and all of a sudden I'm like, it dawned on me, I didn't have the tone anymore, and my arm wasn't sore. I'm like, oh my God, it's gone. But this is just a simple thing, and goes to show you that if we ignore the messages that we get, from the higher self, we just got to go through that yucky period, or that painful period, or that whatever it's not ours is going to grow in us.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wonder a couple of things. One is, I wonder if the reason that we do that is because we really, in some ways, want to hold on to it. We want to make it important. We want to make it about us. We want to make it ours. And so something as simple as tossing a ball or hugging a tree, well, I mean, that can't get rid of this giant thing, right?
Yeah.
And then also, do you think it has to do with awareness? The second you become aware, wait a minute, this might not actually be mine, Do you think that that's the first real step in lifting? Like maybe it even lifts half of it?
It could. I personally I don't think that is a big help. Like it makes you aware. Yes, it does. And so then once it makes you aware, then you find your tool to clear it.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's what it is. I don't think that it's, just knowing about it, it's not going to go away.
Yeah. I know someone who's very close to me who does not like the tool, Is It Mine? So there's a tool in Access Consciousness that I kind of like. And for me and a lot of people, there's an you become aware. Is it mine? Is it someone else's? Is it something else's? For her, it's always hers, right? She just gets irritated and it's always hers. So the awareness for her is not helpful. For me, it's helpful. And like you said, it gives me that clue. Oh, I need to do something about this. I can do something about this.
Yes.
So it's that next little step. It's like the clue that you can get there. And so for me, I think it does start to lift at that moment because it gives me that idea. Wait a minute, I can challenge this. So this was one of the things I really wanted to bring up for anyone who's listening, is to challenge this energy, to fight it. For months, I have been, feeling like I'm underwater with low energy. And every so often I surface and I can see everything. It's so clear. It's so bright. I can see everything. Everything makes sense. And then I go back under again, right? And I think that has to do with all the new information we get, the new downloads. When you and I especially, or some of the other people in our collective, we share some new information that is exciting, we bob up above the energy. And then for me, I sink back under. And I hadn't realized until that comment, it just takes one comment, one instant that I heard from Alice and Co. to remind me, every day I need to fight this energy. I need to challenge it. And I don't mean like being in a fighting mode. I mean, you're not going to get me. This isn't mine.
Yeah.
This is somebody else's. This is something else's. And at the same time, I don't want everyone to see it as negative. It's a positive thing that some of us have this capacity to work this energy out, to bring it to a higher vibration. And that's all we're doing. We're running it through our systems that for some reason have the capacity to transmute it. And we're just bringing it to a higher vibration. That's all.
What if this just came? Okay, this information just came. What if what we are doing right now, what me and you and our other collective on the same energy wavelength are doing, we are aware of this heavy energy that's coming in, that it's trying to keep people under control still. What if we are being given these tools to help move this energy, is not only for us, but for the collective?
Yeah, no, I think it's all of that. And I think there's a lot of people are actually saying something similar to that as well, that it's raising the vibration of the planet. And I think if we can think about it that way, so maybe it's the person in the next office. Maybe it's somebody in our household. Maybe it's no one that we even know. It's just in the field where we are at the time.
That's right. Yes.
And we can move it out. And then I think you kind of touched on what's maybe another topic. And I actually wanted to ask you about that, what you think.
Well, what's that?
Do you think there is an effort somewhere, now we're going to be in conspiracy land, that is meant to prevent, to keep people like us and like our collective and the people that we know in a state of depression, in a state of suppression, where this work can't be done as quickly?
I believe so. I believe there is, because just like there is duality, yin and yang, there has to be. Oops, sorry. My phone is going off. The yin and the yang. It needs to be. It needs to be for growth, for teachings, for the ability of one recognizing what's right and what's wrong, what works, what doesn't work. You have to have it together. It's just like night and day goes well together. They marry. The sun and the moon, they marry. Everything has a duality, because without the duality, we would not be whole. At least this is my opinion. This is my knowing, and we are so needing the yin and the yang. It's finding the balance in the middle. This is where we need to be. We need to be in that balance in the middle. We need to be on that scale that it's not tipping on one side and it's not tipping on the other, and it has to be balanced. So one of those days when we get those energy waves that hit us heavy, tips the opposite, on the other side, and then we have to come up to balance, and then we tip to the other side where we feel joy and happiness for a day or so, and then we go back and then we tip again, and that's all it is. That's all it is. It's a procedure, and to me it's a beautiful procedure. I love it, because if I think that I'm getting excited, I don't know why. Like, I'm getting this feeling of excitement, and I don't know why I'm feeling like this, but it's like I think I've hit a really good analogy on it, and that's why it's giving me this butterfly almost feeling in my belly. This is where we know where we need to be. We know our growth.
I think it is an absolutely perfect analogy, and I think it's a really helpful analogy. The image of the teeter-totter, the image of the balance, because it really, it speaks to our topic that, you may tip to a side of having less energy, lower. But what it means is on the other side of that teeter-totter, there is a much higher energy, a much higher elevation that you can simply create balance and access.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a very hopeful analogy. And I think you're right. I think it's very, very true. I love, me, and I love conspiracy theory, and I could listen to it all day long. However, the idea of balance is really important to me. One of my mottos is, one of the things I say when I teach to a group is, enter in the realm of what's possible. Not real or not real, true or not true, but what is possible, right?
Yeah.
I think with the idea that we're being controlled and suppressed in some ways, I think there's a lot to that. I think there's a lot of evidence for it.
Yeah.
But I also think we can go down a rabbit hole with that and get out of balance really easily, get angry about who or what or how or when, rather than, as you said, just knowing it's part of the balance, it's part of the time we're going through. I think that there will be a time when that is no longer available, when that's not going to be happening anymore. But for right now, it's something that we are dealing with. And if you're a person like we are, that is willing to challenge that wants to, that's willing to accept that it's a possibility, a distinct possibility, but challenge it by raising our vibration.
Mm-hmm.
By going out, putting your feet on the ground and asking Mother Gaia and hugging the tree in your yard to take what's not yours and to ground. By using a tool. So for me, this tool was in my face, right? And it's on my desk, and I used it. But one of the things that we really wanted to discuss in this conversation was other tools, just reminders. Because each of us in this conversation, the people who are listening to us now probably have many, many tools. I know for me, most of the people that I work with are other practitioners.
Yeah.
So they probably have, 40 modalities like you do as well. And you can use any of them.
Of course.
But in a moment of that downside of the teeter-totter, like you were talking about, the underwater, like I was saying, It's hard to remember them. It's hard to access them.
Yes.
So what I would say, my advice is, and I'll ask what you would say, is look through your notes. Take a look at your bookshelf and see what books you have. And just follow along and see which one your body responds to.
Mm-hmm.
And just do that one. You know, energetic clearing is a great one that you can do quickly. You need nothing. You just sit wherever you are, stand wherever you are, lay wherever you are, and do a chakra energetic clearing, you know, commanding that that energy be moved out of your system. You know, for me, there's Sedona method. There's a million, but I want to pass it to you and ask you about some of the tools that you've used and that you think are especially effective at clearing out this heavy energy.
Thank you. It's interesting. I use a number of tools, like, you know, yourself. I use my smudge, you know, whether it's
That's a good one. Yeah.
whether it's sage or sweetgrass or tobacco. I also use this the cinnamon or the rosemary, bay leaf, but I don't use it to light it. And it's dry. I use it when it's dry because I love the smell of it. And if you can get the fresh bay leaf, it's even better because you can like crunch it and smell it. I use that. Then I use salt. Salt I use it in different ways. Okay. But it's Himalayan salt. I work more with Himalayan salt than regular sea salt. The sea salt, I use it more for baths. So if I'm really, really, really down and I'm really, really heavy, my energy is really heavy, and then I take a sea salt bath. I may put a little bit of lavender oil in it, so it helps me, you know, relax even more. But the Himalayan salt, I've been using it with bringing up my energy. If I put a few pebbles of the salt in a bottle of water and I drink that, I also hold the salt for a little while until it clears out anything that it's within me. And that's another tool that I use. Going outside bare feet or hugging my trees, that's a different tool that I use. There is also another tool that I use that and now it's just escaping me, the bowl or the drumming. You know, for me, I love when I'm down, use the drumming. I just sit and I do a couple of drumming. A lot of times, what I do, which is crazy, people, you know, I close my windows because I don't want them to see what I'm doing. I don't get naked. I put my favorite music on, which is happy music, and I dance in my kitchen.
Yeah, that's huge.
And that makes me happy. You know, my old songs that bring so much happy memories. The other thing that I suggest to people is watching bloopers of your favorite show. You know, as long as it's a happy show, not the killing ones, but it's a happy, you know, happy show that brings you laughter from the belly and, you know, just brings tears to your eyes, laughing so hard. That brings your energy to way up here, you know.
So I think that's amazing things to bring up, because what if you're a person who doesn't have a million modalities?
That's
Those
right.
are things that anybody can do. And even if you do, so some of us practitioners, we tend to keep things very serious, but dancing, oh my gosh. I mean, that really does. Go out and go dancing. However, I would put this one little caveat on there. If it's when you're dealing with a really heavy energy, take with it the awareness that you're clearing it out.
Yes.
Have the intention that you just caught it. I see you. I know what you're doing, and you're out of here, baby. So you kick it out. So, you know, bring the awareness with you. I think along the lines of what you were saying, which is really, and you said you would have done it, is going for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take this out of the metaphysical just for a minute and back into the physical. It's all physical and it's all metaphysical.
Yes.
You know, not true or not true, real or not real, but what's possible. So I want to talk about our adrenals for a minute. So many practitioners, so many people, and I would say that almost every empath on the planet has experienced experiencing adrenal fatigue. Our energy is taxed, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that happens is a person with adrenal fatigue will oftentimes experience anxiety. They'll experience it, and a lot of times what anxiety truly is a physical response that the body is creating.
Mm-hmm.
And it floods our body with adrenaline. In an adrenal fatigue, we don't have a lot of adrenaline. Our adrenals are just tired, and they're responsible for a lot of our energy production. They're responsible for adrenaline. So when adrenaline is unexpended, let's say, so you get anxiety, you're in a state of anxiety, you don't know why, it's probably not yours, but you're in a state of heightened anxiety, the heart's racing a little, you may be sweating, you feel uncomfortable, and then you do nothing, that turns into cortisol, turns into belly fat. It's really bad for our system. There are studies that say it increases our cholesterol levels and our blood pressure, and overall creates bad health. So some of the things that you can do to expend that energy are dance, move. In the past, we would have had anxiety because a lion was chasing us, right?
Yeah.
We would have run. It would have expended that energy. The adrenaline only feels like a mistake in this day and age because we're not running from a lion, yeah. Right? The adrenaline happens because we are under attack. We're under a perceived threat, right? So getting out, going for a walk, expends that energy. Mm-hmm. So it has twofold. It physically removes that from our body, creates a healthy experience with that adrenaline. Mm-hmm. It doesn't store in our body. It does what it's supposed to do. And it clears the perceived threat, which is this heavy negative energy that isn't ours. Yeah. So from that perspective, going for a walk, dancing, moving, exercising, go to an exercise class.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's, I don't know if you guys have it there, but we have, it's called Zumba.
Yeah.
Here. You can go to Zumba. Oh, they have actually classes that you can just dance classes that you can just go and do. Or, if you're very athletic, you can go, for a run. If you can go, I used to do boxing, kickboxing, and it was one of my favorite. I don't really do a lot of sports. I've never done a lot of sports because I've never really liked that many sports. The only thing I was super addicted to was kickboxing. I loved the fact that contact sports that I got to put the power behind when I would hit the glove of my trainer, and I loved it because it got all my energy out. It got my anger out. It got my whatever, and after a while I was just so into it, and then I fell because I went down in a spiral of deep depression, so I had to let it go, and it took me a long time to get back to where I am now. So a lot of things do happen in your life, because we're still human. We're still in a human body. We still live in the earth as humans. We don't have all the tools to comprehend and to cope with everything. The fact is that we have to realize we cannot stay down there.
Yeah. We have to challenge it. I think that's the point of our conversation today is we do have to challenge those. Mm-hmm. They're a physical, mental, emotional, and physical, spiritual state that Yes. we're in. Yeah. And like you're saying, things happen, large things can happen in our lives that really knock us right down. Like you said, I fell down in a spiral. It's true. You fall in a way. And you don't feel like doing anything.
No.
And so I love that you're saying that, because that's the time when it might be time to go to a practitioner.
Yes.
There's no shame in reaching out for help, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so if you can find someone in your area or online that can help bring your vibration up, you know, and if it's a big hit, I mean, we have tragedies in our life. We have big things that hit us. So, you know, I don't want to make the impression that we're saying, don't let anything bother you. Just go out and do a process.
No, it's bullshit.
No.
Sure.
However, you do have to do something. You can't let it get you and keep you. And so finding a practitioner that can help you begin to move your vibration up and up and up. And I think it's nice to remember that that may not happen all in one time. So, you know, when I'm talking about, you know, using this ball, I'm talking about a temporary energy that was weighing me down, that wasn't really truly rooted in anything. That's what I found out.
Yeah.
However, sometimes real things happen to us.
That's right.
And we can let them begin to become a tether.
That's right.
And then that's when it becomes a problem, when they tether us to that moment in time and continue to bring our energy down in the future. So one great tool is really find a practitioner, and then find another practitioner, and then find another, until you get to the place where you are back to yourself or back to a better you.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Or find a friend, talk to a friend, you know, open up to a friend that this is what you're going through, you know, if, you know, and take the advice that a friend gives you, because sometimes that friend or that relative may give you an advice, hey, you know what, go for a massage, and actually get your ass up, excuse my language, and go to the massage.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that get great advice, but they don't do nothing with it. And they still sit there whining and crying about how their life is miserable. I'm sorry. You have the key. Nobody else can do it for you. You're going to have to find your own tools that are perfect for you to use.
I love that you said massage. I want to dovetail on what you just said, but I love that you said massage, because massage can really release things that, you know, may not be able to be released any other way. Our body holds these injuries. So a physical injury or a metaphysical injury, a spiritual injury, an emotional injury, our bodies hold them for us. They keep them away from vital areas so that it doesn't kill us, but they're there, they're still there. A massage is a great way to get those out. So I appreciate you bringing that up too.
For me, what worked when I was in that state, I found a great reflexologist, and I went religiously every week. You know, I went once a week because it's all I could afford. I went once a week, and that was okay. You can go every 2 weeks if you cannot afford to go once a week. But it helped me because there is pressure points. You know, everything that we have, each organs has a connective spot to your feet, to your hands, even to your ears and to your face.
Absolutely.
So this is where bar comes in. The
bars, access consciousness bars. Yep.
Right. The reflexologists, the massage therapist, and Reiki. There's a lot of different tools that we have available. We just have to be open-minded, and embrace and search.
Yeah, I think really you're onto something there. It's about being conscious and aware that there is a possible solution. I think even following up with what you said, the right acupuncturist.
Yeah.
If you can let them know, hey, I had this incident in my life and I am suffering emotionally, they can help you move that out rapidly, very quickly. It's surprising.
Yes.
So, and we don't want to forget, you know, back to if you're a person who can't afford anything. I mean, you may have had a huge financial collapse and that's the source of your problem. Talking to a friend.
Yeah.
However let's put a little caveat on that. You do not want to talk to the friend that's going to encourage you in your depression, your
Yes.
anxiety, your anger. You do not want that. You want someone who is really going to help uplift and encourage you to get better and to leave that behind. So that's the one little caveat. But talking about it, and not airy-fairy talking about it, really sharing how you feel about something is important. You've got to get it out of your body.
I want to add to that, you know, and I want to say this, I don't know about yours, but mine, you know, when I do healing or when I do clearing and all of that, I also take love donation if you cannot afford it. So find a practitioner like that they can take love donation. You don't have to pay the full amount, but you pay whatever you can. You know, do pro bono office. Sometimes they have these new practitioners that they are opening that they offer a special, like a rate with a bunch, like 3 or 4 classes or 3 or 4 massages for a minimum amount. Find those places if you really want. So it's you getting out of that tornado, you know, stepping outside of that and say, okay, what can I do to help myself?
You know, that is a fantastic idea, because everywhere people are learning modalities.
Yes.
And I know recently I was learning access consciousness bars, and I didn't want to put that into my practice without having done it a lot of times.
Yes.
And so I offered it to my friends and family, and I did it for free for quite some time. So if there's a school in your area that teaches anything,
Yeah.
NLP, massage, you know, if there's a spiritual center, lots of times they offer healings.
Yes.
Metaphysical bookstores are an incredible place for that, to find those kind of things. So, you know, and then also look at things like Groupon if you're looking for an acupuncturist,
Yes.
massage therapist.
Yeah.
If you're a practitioner, so lots of people that are going to be watching this are practitioners. You know, so many of the people that we work with, find another practitioner and share.
Yes.
Swap skills, swap sessions.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lovely way to get what you need and to provide. And I really want to make a point of saying this, that lots of practitioners isolate in a way, and they don't reach out for help because they're a practitioner. They know it all, right? Yeah. If you reach out for help, you're weak or whatever, or maybe you're just too busy. But as a practitioner, I think myself, being able to talk to other practitioners in my collective is so helpful. It inspires. It reminds me that there's other ways of thinking than the way I think. You know, I think you're probably the biggest catalyst in my life. You're always pushing me, and I get very resistant, really resistant. You know, I do. You know, just like someone else in my life I was saying that's very close to me. I do. However, even if I'm resistant in the moment, I do think about things and I let them process through, and I take them. So for me, having other practitioners in my life, even just to bounce ideas off of and to share what's actually happening in my experience without constant complaining, sharing for the purpose of, hey, you know, what might you say about this situation? What in your experience? So that's important. So I can't stress enough, we can't stress enough, having that collective, having people to talk to.
Well, it's funny that you say I push you. Well, you push me too, but apparently I have that reputation. You're not the only one who says that. Apparently I push a lot of people out of their comfort zone to step up and do whatever. But what I want to say is that, you know, the lawyer needs a lawyer. A doctor needs a doctor. A therapist needs a therapist.
Yeah.
A Reiki session needs another Reiki master. So we all need the other person. Doesn't matter what you're doing, what your career is. You know, you are not invincible. You are human. And so you would need that session for yourself to especially if you're a therapist. So hear me out. Here's the other thing. If you are a therapist, think of what you do all day. It drags you down because here you are taking on all these people's heavy stuff on, and you don't want to live with that. So you need more tools, more than anybody else, to clear that out. So don't feel that you can't, oh, I'm a therapist and I can't get help because, people are going to think maybe I'm not a good therapist. No, that does not make you, anything less. That actually makes you more human and more relatable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's very important. So as empaths, which everybody that we're talking to probably is, you're taking on other people's energy, whether you like it or not, and you've got to process it out. That's what this conversation is really about. You got to process it out, whether it's yours, somebody else's, or the planet's, which I think is really important.
Yes.
If you're of the mindset that the planet is going through changes and ascension, we are sometimes processing with and for the planet. So that's important. And I think we want to really have, like you said, the teeter-totter and balance.
Yes.
To number one, first, challenge the energy, challenge the state that you're in, right?
Yep.
And try something simple first. Try an energetic clearing. Try a meditation. Try a walk outside. Try a fast walk just to get the adrenaline out of your body and see if that's what it is. Try a smudge of the house. Try a salt bath if that's what you have available.
Try holding a crystal.
Try holding a crystal. Try holding Himalayan salt in your hands. We just had a video out, Is Salt the New Healer? Powerful stuff. Just some salt in your hands. Try those little things first and see if right now, in the moment that you're in, you can change your state. Mm-hmm. If you can, fantastic, right? If you're struggling with it or it continues, talk to somebody about it. If you are able to clear your energy quickly, talk to somebody about that too. Share it. Yes. Share your experience. It was one of the first things that I did is I shared with my collective, oh my God, you're not going to believe what I just did. I cleared out this thing that I thought was huge, And then, the other thing is I did the same thing. I've been working with the ball because I've been working with Bill. We've got classes coming up that he's presenting. So I've been working with him. He's on my mind.
Sorry to interrupt you. When are his classes?
He's got an online class starting April 28th for a practitioner level 1 with the ball.
Oh, perfect.
And I really think this is an amazing adjunct to any practitioner's set of tools because it's very complex, but simple to do.
Yes.
And works great. And then the other is September 20th, which is a live class, 3-day live class, which includes a Secrets of the Masters, where he shares some amazing energetic work and practitioner level 1. So that's coming. But it's been on my mind. It was the thing that's in front of my face.
Yes.
And I wanted to see, because I never follow the rules, and I always go bigger than I am supposed to or should.
Yeah.
So I wanted to stretch the limits, and I wanted to see if I could change a worldview that I had. Mm-hmm. It took me about 45 minutes, but I cannot for the life of me access that worldview. What I mean by worldview is a structure that I thought I was built on. That's huge. So my point in saying this is, and I want to, our conversation's running a little long, and so I want to have a part 2 of the conversation. I want to stop now and have part 2. But to challenge those big things, and challenge them in a way that can collapse them in an instant. Now, sometimes things do take time, and sometimes things take a lot of learning, and then you can collapse them in an instant. But other times, and right now, it's available to us that we can sometimes collapse things right now.
Right.
So I'd like to continue this and in conversation number 2 about the idea of energetic imprint, about the idea that things that have happened in our past are really pulling us back constantly. And
Yes.
whether or not we can clear those out quickly, and whether or not they're really as big as we initially thought they were. So
That's right.
I want to thank you so much for this conversation. I know for me personally, having these conversations with you and all the people in our collective, in my collective, and then extending into your collective, and then each of the people we talk to have their own collective.
And now we're sharing it with the world.
And now we're sharing with the world. It makes all the difference. Not just some difference, but all the difference. We're going through intense times right now. Intense is probably a mild word, but it's intense.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us on this path and doing this work and aware and conscious, we need these reminders.
That's
We
right.
need the support. We're not alone. There's stuff we can do in an instant. There's people out there willing to help.
Yep.
And I would really recommend continue to watch stuff like this. Find the people out there that resonate with you.
Yes.
And that give you new ideas and remind you, like Allison reminded me, to create change. So what are your last words on the subject?
I'm excited to, for part 2, because energetic imprint, it's a big subject. It can lead into many different parts of our life, and also we haven't touched about food. So we can
that's something.
touch on about food, about that too, because our body needs a certain kind of food right now, and how we are energetically shifting into that. So I'm excited, and I really enjoyed this topic. I really, really enjoyed this discussion. So thank you so much for having it.
Yeah, and thank you for having it with me. So Carmela can be found on her website, carmelalamanna.com. Nope, Carmel. No, that's right. Powerofrisingspirit.com.
Yes.
Powerofrisingspirit.com. And when I edit this, I'll put it up for everyone. And where else, Carmela? What are the other places people can see you on a daily basis, or weekly basis, or monthly?
Well, I have 2 pages. I have one on Facebook. It's an inspirational page. If I'm busy, I'm not posting just every day. But I try to post an inspirational message every day on that page. Also on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. And you can also email me at carmelalamanna@outlook.com. And just, I'm out there. Search.
And also most Wednesday evening in the Eastern time zone of the United States, Carmela and her partner Nancy, her friend Nancy, they do a spirited duo where they share messages and other topics. So if you can check into that, that's a really great resource. And that's live. So people can actually interact with you and talk with you. So The Spirited Duo is the page on Facebook. And announcements are there for when they're going to be having a live discussion. So find The Spirited Duo on Facebook, and you can find Carmela most weeks there. So my dear friend, thank you so much for this conversation and all the conversations that we have. And I'm going to pause this now, and then we'll pick up with part 2 of this conversation about energetic imprint. I'm Liz Larson with Transform One Idea, the word one, transformoneidea.com. Also, I'm a practitioner. We are both available and do online session and in-person session with many, many modalities. So if you want to know about those, please just reach out to either of us and find out how you can work with us directly. So we'll talk soon. Ciao for now.